Did you know that every year a given car model becomes cheaper? And I don't mean the price. In fact, the prices of a given car model will go up, but the cost that a manufacturer has to pay to build the car goes down, and it's called technical cost reduction. That's what the idea is. And there are actually engineers whose job it is to reduce the price of building a car. Now you might be thinking, well, does that mean if I go for a later model year car, the car is gonna feel cheaper? Maybe. If technical cost reduction is done properly, the consumer doesn't notice it. In the case of the BMW i3, you do. Here we have two vehicles, and they may look like the same car, and technically on paper, it is the same car, it's a BMW i3. But in terms of what they represented to BMW, these two cars couldn't be more different. This was the very first model year. It represented the future. It was an optimistic time for BMW, who built this carbon fiber wonder from Leipzig. Coach doors, revolutionary range extended electric drive system, a sustainable interior. This thing was BMW giving it everything they got, and when it debuted for the 2014 model year, BMW showed this car with pride. This car represented something totally different to BMW. It represented 7 years of failure, because the i3 was a market disaster, especially in the US, where people didn't want to spend 55 grand on a small car, even though it was a luxury car, even though it was technologically advanced. And so we've got two cars. One, basically BMW showing off what their engineers can do, and the other, basically BMW trying to scrounge as many pennies as they can from a failed program. And so it's an excellent example of just how much cost automakers pull out of a car each year. You'll notice that the 2014 model has body-colored mirrors. Gray mirror, gray paint. Starting in 2015, this went away and all the mirrors went black. Clear cost save. Have a look at the side of this BMW i3. You'll notice the pattern of these 5-spoke wheels. They all sort of crouch, each of the spokes sort of feels like it's spinning forward, almost like a crouching, it's doing this, okay? Now let's go to the other side. You'll notice that on this side, the spokes are also kind of doing this. They're sort of crouching forward, so to speak. What this means is that each wheel is specific to each corner. That's right, the 2014 BMW i3 had 4 separate wheels. That obviously costs money. So starting in 2015, if you see a 2015 and later i3, you'll notice that it looks different whether you look at it on the left side or on the right side, because the wheels on each axle are common. So you'll see these spokes sort of crouching backwards. That's a clear cost save. Let's keep going through some of the features that are obvious cost save. Now look, this 2021 i3 is the sport model, so it's gonna have the black mirrors and it's gonna have different wheels. So the changes don't apply necessarily to these exact cars, but starting in 2015, the mirrors were all black, and these wheels, they only had 2 wheels per car, not 4 separate ones. All right, check out the wheels on this. Okay, you can see that this is a 2015, and it does not have body-colored mirrors. And look at the wheels. It looks like they're going backwards. They're sort of arching backwards on this side. And here you can see they're arching forwards. It's very clearly the same wheel on each side, on each axle. This is a 2015 model, so a lot of changes were made for 2015. On my 2021 i3, years after they changed the wheels, when you look at the graphics on the interior of my car, it has 4 separate wheels. Even BMW knew that the 2014 wheel design was better, so they kept that wheel design all the way until the end, even though it was gone starting in 2015. Let's keep going through a few other changes. Starting in 2015, first off, have a look at this. You see the back of this seat? You have this nice, little netting. You can put some things in there, registration, whatever. Have a look at the 2021. It's gone. There's nothing there. It's just hard plastic. Clear cost save. Let's go through a couple of other things. You'll notice there's netting up front. You can put things in the net, whatever. This just became a black strap, kind of a useless black strap. So you didn't have to have that hard plastic surround to hold the netting. It's just a black strap. Completely useless. You'll also notice on the 2014 model, you have this nice aluminum lock cylinder. On the final model year, you have a black plastic lock cylinder instead of the aluminum. Also on the 2014 model, you'll see this soft pad for your wrist when you use the iDrive controller. On the final model year, you'll notice that the pad for the iDrive controller, the soft pad, is gone. It's just one piece of hard plastic here. On the 2014 model, you'll see the armrests are covered in leather, brown leather. So here and then here on the door on each side. The armrests on all 2018 and up i3s have white vinyl instead of leather. So the center one as well is this white vinyl. That's a clear cost save. On the 2014 model, you'll see the engine cover under the rear floor is made of carbon fiber. The engine cover starting in 2015 was no longer made of carbon fiber, but instead you can see it's aluminum. That's a very clear cost save. On the 2014 model, you'll see that you have these rubber bumpers for the hatchback. On each side, you have a rubber bumper to stop the door. You'll see it hits against this rubber bumper stop. There's a flat section for it to hit. And here you can see on the later models, they got rid of the bumpers. They just put a blanking plate here. I guess they figured that the seal itself was enough. They didn't need the bumpers. I don't know how much that saved them, but apparently it was something. There are other things that, and I'm not sure if they're a cost save necessarily, but maybe. Have a look at this mirror. You'll see that it's just a borderless mirror. On the 2014 model, the mirror had a black plastic border. I'm not sure that I really care that much, or if this is necessarily a cost save. It might even be an improvement, but it does seem like you're saving money by not needing the border. All right, another change is that the early i3s actually had a key that showed the car on it. This is the key to this later i3, and they shared the same key with the i8. That's not even the i3 on the key. The early model, it actually shows the right car on the key. How ridiculous of a cost save. You're gonna give someone a key that doesn't even show their own car on it? Ridiculous. All right, another change. Starting in 2015, BMW got rid of the drain plug, and I don't know if you can see it here. It's a little hard to, you might not be able to see it. Actually, they got rid of the fill plug on the differential, it's infuriating because if I want to replace the oil in my differential, on this 2014, no problem. Drain plug, put the drain plug back on, fill it through the fill hole. If I want to change the diff fluid on this 2021 or any 2015 and newer i3, I can drain it, but I can't fill it. There is no fill plug. So you have to fill it through the drain hole, which is a ridiculous change. I'd also like to point out on the 2014, there is a compass in the mirror. What's just as frustrating as these features having been cheapened is that the overall build quality of the final i3 is significantly worse. There are two reasons for this. One, tooling does wear down over time, and so you get less precision of a given tool by the 7th model year or 6th or whatever versus the 1st model year. And two, again, this vehicle represented the end of a failed experiment for BMW. The level of diligence and precision they put into building a great product, it just wasn't there. They're losing money. It doesn't matter as much. Whereas you had to build this thing well because you had to show the world what you got. I'm going to give you a few examples of the build quality difference. Follow me. On the interior, if you look at this wood glove box lid, you'll see the gap here in the glove box lid is consistent all the way through. Look at the gap on that glove box lid. It's huge here and it's tight there. It should be like that. That's the 2014 car. That's what it looks like. Instead, there's a giant uneven gap. It looks awful. Have a look at the headliner on the 2014 model. It looks right. It looks well done. There's nothing weird here, right? I also want to show you this piece of rubber between the glass, the rear glass here, and then the back of the car. There's a piece of rubber that you can see hugs the bottom glass really tightly. You have to really look in closely, but you'll see the rubber is really right up against this bottom part all the way through. Now let's go to the 2021 car. The headliner on this car, I actually had to sort of fix it. You can see the problem is that the cloth doesn't go all the way up. So the rubber only barely covers it. If you look at it from the bottom, you can see that it's just barely covering it. It looks okay now that I've adjusted it, but if you look closely, it's just garbage. Have a look at this glass here. This rubber seal here, which is really tight on the other car, it gets big. You can see, especially here, it's separated from the bottom glass. There's a big gap here. That's allowing dirt in there. I'd also like to show, in terms of quality, have a look at the center console on the later model. See this? Look at this fitment. You see how the fabric is just sort of doesn't quite fit right? It's not tight here. It's like bubbled up. Let's have a look at the 14, the 1st model year. Look at that. Look at how perfect that is. No bubbling, it's just perfect. So you might be wondering, why is it that I'm keeping the gold car? It's missing a lot of the quality features that the 2014 has. It doesn't have the nice brown leather armrests. It doesn't have the netting where you want it. It doesn't have the nice aluminum lock. It doesn't have the carbon fiber engine cover. It doesn't have the body colored mirror caps. It's also got poor build quality relative to the 1st model year. Why keep this? Well, the answer is that even though the final model year will often have had a bunch of cost removed from it. The truth is, in order to keep this car competitive, the automaker has to make changes to the macro things. We've pointed out some of the micro compromises, but on a macro scale, they've done things like double the EV range. So you could get about 75 miles of range of electric on the first model year. This one you can get 140. So that's a significant change. There are also a number of changes to the motor bearings, which on the first model year saw a number of failures. There are also changes to the AC compressor between the first model year and the final model year. These were learnings from warranty returns. It costs automakers a lot of money to have to pay out warranties. So they have incentive to improve the parts to reduce the warranty claims. Even though this car is built cheaper, and even though some of the nice features that I wish I had aren't there, the big things like the new battery and the improvements to things like the compressor and motor make it worthwhile. And it helps that it's got a 12-year, 130,000 mile warranty left on it. So that's the thing, it's technical cost reduction. It's kind of infuriating when you sit in a non-first model year car and you see things, you're like, well, I wish it, what's going on here? I wish it had this nice quality, but that's not the whole story. Sometimes you'll deal with that to get major improvements to the important macro things.